I'm Jeff Biggs, and I am the host of the Cowboys Squad Show, and I have to confess, I am a little bit down on the Cowboys as we hit Week 9.
I'm Marcus Mosher, and I'm ready for a bye week.
I'm Landon McCool, and I'm going to petition to see if special teams can actually be the other side of the ball opposite of offense.
Glenn Stretch Smith, we got 5 days to the trade deadline, and the Cowboys ain't doing rip.
How about them Cowboys? It's the Cowboys Squad. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
And it truly is a show that does not need an introduction, but we like to give you one anyway. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys Squad Show. We say welcome to the co-hosts of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, the one and only daily Cowboys Locked On podcast, Marcus Mosher and Landon McCool. Good to have you both back with us. And of course, the former Cowboys coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, after the mile-high meltdown, it is gut check time again for the Cowboys as we hit the halfway point of the season. We're great to be with you here for the next hour. Lots to get to. We've got the Monday night matchup coming up with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Just when you thought the Trayvon Diggs situation could not get any weirder, it did. We're going to get into that. And as Coach mentioned a moment ago, the NFL trade deadline is now less than a week away, coming up next week. All right, so let's get to it, guys. Want to start with the two of you. Lots of blame to go around after the mile-high manhandle. Where do you want to begin? Floor's yours.
Go ahead, Landon. I want you to start.
Oh boy, so nice of you. I think it's pretty familiar culprits, right? The defense was terrible once again, and I think that's obviously the standard where we are right now. It felt like they regressed even further from where they were previous, and now you're looking at a situation where I think, we talked about it the previous week that this was a litmus test game. It was a measuring stick game. And if you're holding yourself to it, they did not measure up well at all. And so, I think it changes the kind of tenor and tone of the season. It certainly can change, where you feel like you are in relation to being a team that should be making a trade to compete. And how you're going to relate to the trade deadline as it comes up. But I do think that we can pretty firmly put to bed the idea that the Cowboys are going to greatly improve this defense by making a trade. I think, even if they did make a trade, I'm not saying they won't make a trade, but even if they did make a trade, I think what we've pretty clearly established is that this team is more than a player or two away from making this a tolerable defense.
Just watching the film this week, you saw a lot of the Cowboys youth. Like I think they're the second youngest team in the NFL. They're very banged up on defense. At one point, I think somebody said they were without 7 defensive backs. And you really felt that when guys like Reddy Stewart are out there playing safety and that kind of stuff. Like you felt the youth, and they've got a first-year head coach. I know he's older. It's those type of games when you're going on the road against a seasoned coach like Sean Payton, where things can unravel fast. And it felt like they did, because they were in this game really up until right about to halftime, right? They had a chance to cut the lead down to 3 going into halftime, or to maybe cut it down to 7. And they stalled out, and Dak threw an interception, and everything just went downhill from there. And that happens when you play these road games. We just need to remember this is a very young team. And I think we can't say we're in a rebuild, because you don't really rebuild with a $60 million a year quarterback. That's a ding for you, Stretch. That's, I typed about it before you did. But I think that's where we are. We're at a team that's rebuilding, and this is kind of the process of getting there. It's getting your butt whooped on the road.
rebuilding on one side of the ball?
Yes. Well, I mean, when you trade away your best player 4 days before the game or before week 1 for multiple first round picks. Yeah. And they've got a bunch of cap space. Like, this is clearly a rebuild.
Right. So, I mean, we were talking earlier today, and you know, I'll ask you. So, if you look at the guys who have spent big money on these defensive ends, okay, so you got Micah, they're obviously winning. Aiden Hutchinson winning. TJ Watt, they're bad on defense. Myles Garrett, not getting it done. Daniil Hunter, I mean, Houston arguably can't get to 500. Crosby, Bosa, Hendrickson. Does it make sense to go spend that kind of money on a defensive end, or did it make sense for them to start this rebuild process on defense? You know, I don't think you look at a trade right now for necessarily this year. If you can get the right player that fits into your system for a couple of years as you approach the trade deadline, I'm 100% fine with that. I don't think you can just assume that this team can load up with draft picks and trust after, oh, by the way, who have they drafted defensively recently that's contributing? Ouch. I mean, I'm just saying, and you can go back a long ways. You can go all the way back to maybe DeMarcus Lawrence.
Or Micah, but that's fine. But real quick. I don't think you're ruling out trading like a 6th or 7th round pick for a defensive help. I think what you're talking about is like paying a 1st or 2nd round pick for a big money player. I think you're kind of against that right now.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm saying I don't know what it would take to explore getting a safety in here, whether it's Minkah Fitzpatrick or Grant Delpit, or I don't know what necessarily Cincinnati's going to want for Hendrickson. I mean, I don't know that. But I do know this, that the process has got to get going, and they got to start getting some guys on this football team, even if it is for next year, going through what you're calling a rebuild.
Yeah, I think for me, I completely agree. Like, I think for me, like, it's what I've ruled out at this point is like the hope that you're going to get, make a couple of trades and greatly improve this defense to the point where they're contending this year. But I completely am on board with using these picks. In fact, I will say this. I think I'm more on board with using one of these picks for trading for a veteran player of known quantity than drafting with all 4 picks, right? Speaking of specifically of the 1st round picks. But I do think that there's something to the idea that, because if we're talking about windows and we are talking about like, how different the 2 sides of the ball are, you're trying to, I mean, it's not just a rebuild in the sense that, blue sky, we can do whatever we want. Like, let's go out and just draft best players. You're specifically rebuilding on the defense. So you need to find you need to use your resources to find players that can help you in the allotted window in which you have Dak, in which you have CD, and potentially, if they re-sign Pickens, maybe in a similar window, which you have Pickens as well. Right. So I think that's kind of where I'm at is, yeah, absolutely. I'm on board with making a trade. I think what I've completely ruled out is an idea of making a trade with only this year in mind and trading instead for someone that can plan to build around to be here long-term to kind of help with the growth of this defense.
We got a really good question from Jack in the chat right now. He said, I think you guys are missing the point. I don't know if we're missing it, but should you be trading away assets, big time assets, for a defensive player that you don't even know who fits your scheme yet, because you don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be in 2026? And yeah. Honestly,
I was thinking that.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. I mean, I would hope that if you're trading a 1st or 2nd round pick, you're getting a player that can fit just about
non-scheme specific player, right?
Right. But there are players that fit, certain schemes that are worth that 1st or 2nd round picks. And like, can I give you an example real quick?
Please.
There's a pass rusher in Pittsburgh right now Nick Herbig, who our friend John Owning and I have liked for a long time, but he's a 240-pound defensive end that is an awesome, awesome pass rusher. If you trade a second-round pick for him, but then you bring in a defensive coordinator next year who only likes these big defensive ends, then I'm not sure that it's worth it. So I think they just need to be careful here.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're not going to, in Pittsburgh, they play an odd 34 scheme. So if you're going to compare that, then you kind of already have that 240-pound defensive end in Ezraku, right? I mean, so if you're going to change and you're going to plan on running an odd front, Okie front, 34, whatever you want to call it, I think then that's fine. But I don't think they know that right now. I'd much more be inclined to say, you have pretty good box safeties with the Cowboys. You need a ball hawk. Now I don't know who that is because I don't sit and study all these other teams that much. But I think you got to think that this team has to start somewhere with making progress to 2026 on the defensive side, because they've shown you 8 weeks what they are. And I get it. Would Diggs look better at corner? Yeah, they'd be better at corner if they had him, if they had a healthy him. But I'm here to say that my gut feeling is I think he's probably played his last game as a Dallas Cowboy.
Real quick, just to go back to the defensive coordinator thing, I think it would be a huge mistake for the Cowboys to change systems. They're going to change systems. They're going to have a new defensive coordinator, but I think it would be a big mistake to go to a 3-4, simply not only because it's such a monumental shift from what you've been doing, and you've already had problems making the small adjustments between these defensive coordinators that you've had. So I think you have to find a situation where you can get a defensive coordinator who can that's aligned a lot with kind of some of the principles that you've had from these last few defensive coordinators as best you can. And then, hopefully the learning curve won't be so severe, because if you come in here and you completely start over with a completely new, different type of defense, all you're doing is further extending the learning curve of that defense. And on top of that, you're not going to have necessarily the players to fit that kind of system, because that certainly hasn't been what you've been drafting for. And this isn't a commentary on coach. This is a commentary about the players, about the Cowboys, and about their inability to hold on to a defensive coordinator for more than a season these last few years, and the kind of fallout from that. And I think that's something that needs to be accounted for here a little bit as well.
All right, so let me ask you this along those lines. Head coach Brian Schottenheimer, after the bad performance, vowed that there's going to be big changes, but realistically, what changes can he actually make? And then when he was asked about that again, he said, well, it's really execution. So what does that mean? Guys have to
play better, right? I think it's as simple as that. Now, I think there's some changes that could potentially happen, like guys seeing reduced snap counts, right? Maybe not completely being taken out of the lineup, but having some of these snaps distributed in different ways. And honestly, we saw that a little bit against Denver. Someone like Sam Williams, who has been getting 35 or 40 snaps a game, I think he was down to like 14 or so this week. And maybe that's what you see across the board. Maybe you see Deron Bland go back to the outside and Reddy Stewart play in the slot. So that way you can get, better coverage on the outside. They're kind of running out of options for changes they can make. You can only do so much mid-season. We did hear Brian Schottenheimer say that some of the bigger changes that they're going to make are going to happen after the bye. We'll see. I'm not overly optimistic about that, though.
I mean, they're not installing a new defense.
No.
It's not like that. But I think, and when I think, coach says it comes down to execution, I mean, I think it always comes down to execution, right? So it's a matter of how do you get your players to execute better? Is it have you not taught them the system well enough? Is it about getting a player in there that will execute the system a little bit better than previously? I think execution, doesn't always necessarily mean hey, this player that's been playing this whole time needs to just play better. Sometimes it's about, some consequences for not executing, right? That could be, and getting other players more up to speed, and maybe taking that extra week to get some of these players that maybe kind of stepping into new roles a little bit of extra time working with the ones as they kind of transition into those new roles.
I mean, excuse me, let me ask you, Marcus, do you question the effort on defense when you watch the film?
No, I mean, there's a couple of guys that not too much. Overall, no, I would say I don't.
I think the point I'm making is defense is about lining up correctly, communicating, playing with the correct leverage, and chasing the crap out of the football. That's really all it is. And then when you get there with the bad intention. Now, do the Cowboys get there at times with Leofow, and instead of wrapping up, the first thing he wants to do is punch at the football? I mean, to me, the first guy that gets there better get there with bad intentions, looking to get the guy on the ground. I don't see the things, to me, that are very day one things when you start talking about defense. It's the first time I'd seen them play with the correct leverage when they played against the Commanders. I mean, literally the first time I'd seen them play with the correct leverage. Why does it take that long? What were they teaching during OTAs? What were they teaching during minicamp? What the hell were you doing out there in California?
Standing around thumbing
your nuts? They're standing around thumbing. I mean, that's what it looks like. I'm just telling you. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan, and it's got to be frustrating for everybody to look at that and see that. It's hard to watch. And I don't care who you're playing with. Play with the correct technique. That's not hard to do. And so I've been in this profession my whole life, and I think the easiest thing to do is criticize what's going on from a coaching standpoint. However, I'm telling you that when I just put the film on, there's so many things that I don't like. Head placement, hand placement, first step, all of the little things that are very hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's a very, and this is what we've been saying for weeks, right? In this show, in our shows, that it's not like a simple case of oh, the other guy was better than you and just beat you, or got to the corner a couple different times. It's consistent, just bad football, like just not executing football. I think again, I think Schottenheimer, being judicious and being the head coach of the team, can say execution and without having to say, man, it's about certain players not executing properly, and that's the execution that needs to improve. But I mean, it's not shocking when you turn on the tape and you see the same 3-4 players screwing up, almost every single snap, or playing with weird technique that no one else in the team is playing with at the time. And then they continue to get on the field and continue to take snaps. It's not surprising that when that happens, that you're continuing to see a lack of fundamental football, right? So to me, I think I would rather see these younger guys get more opportunities and probably screw it up, but hopefully screw it up and then learn and improve, as opposed to watching a 6-year vet who still hasn't gotten it after all these years, and still isn't doing the right thing, or at least forgot it all before this season somehow, and week in and week out, consistently putting bad football out there. I mean, I think at this point, especially where we are in the season and where the team is, let me see the young guys. Like, give these guys snaps to see if they can play better football, at least execute what the coaches are asking them to do a little bit better than some of the guys we've seen out there.
All right. With that said, one guy we're not going to see is Trayvon Diggs. Has he played his last game with the Cowboys? We'll update you on what's going on with that whole situation. And again, we'll get you ready for Monday night with the Cardinals. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. I want to talk to you about Mazda and what they're doing, because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. Marcus Mosher, Landon McCool, and former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith. Cowboys beat down by the Broncos in Denver, looking to bounce back with a little bit of a longer week as they get set to take on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals on Monday night, minus, once again, Trayvon Diggs, who, guys, last time we were together, we talked about Diggs not playing, then landing on the IR, and then boom. Jerry Jones drops the bombshell that, no, you know what? It's not really the concussion. Diggs actually injured his knee. And oh, by the way, it's not the same knee that he injured before. It's the other knee. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, I remember the first time Trayvon injured his knee. It was right before the Cardinals game back in 2023. He hurt it in practice. Cowboys went out to lose that game against Josh Dobbs. I remember it very well, sitting in a hospital watching that game. It was a decent day. My son was born on that day, but it could have been better. Let's just put it that way. I don't know what's going on with Trayvon Diggs. I don't. I think it feels very weird with the concussion that he suffered at home. He's still in phase 1, according to Brian Schottenheimer. There were some whispers. I think so. They came from Jerry Jones that he wasn't fully healthy. And then there was a tweet by Calvin Watkins that said that he might need knee surgery at the end of the year. But then in another breath, it was, hey, but maybe rest will fix this knee up. Which it's worth mentioning that Trayvon Diggs does not have an agent right now. And I think if you have an agent, maybe you can put some more positive spin out there about what's going on, or you can clear some stuff up. It just all feels very much like it's in the air. And honestly, my read of this whole thing is I think the Cowboys are actually protecting Diggs from himself a little bit, because whatever happened with the concussion, it's clearly something embarrassing that happened with Diggs, and they don't want to make Diggs look bad, right? And so they're trying to cover up. I think they're trying to let him get healthy so that when he does play either this year or following years, he can get back to at least the level that we saw a year ago. But this is a very murky situation right now.
Murky. I like that.
The Diggs relationship with the Cowboys is fascinating, right? Because it's just like, I cannot get a read on it at all. I don't disagree with what Marcus is saying. Like, I do feel like there is a certain amount of this that I think where early on it felt like there was part of this was about animosity and about being angry and the two sides not getting along. I do tend to agree that I think that this is maybe a case where the Cowboys are trying to like protect Diggs from himself a little bit, because they have handled the concussion situation oddly. Obviously, we've talked about that last week as well. That the just the way that they've spoken about it and the way that they've portrayed it in the media, it's been very odd. But it also hasn't been what's the word I'm looking for? Like it hasn't been like leading. They're not implying that something nefarious is happening. We're drawing those conclusions because we're not getting enough information. Yeah, but they're not like going out of their way to be like, hey, I don't know, don't know what's going on. If anything, they're being like, no, we think he'll be back. We're just trying to get him some time to get healthy. So I don't know. I mean, I feel I think,
Landon, if something if it wasn't embarrassing, Trayvon's in that locker room. He could have just told a reporter what was going on, right?
Absolutely.
But I think the fact that we're almost 3 weeks in and we haven't heard a peep,
Exactly.
I think suggests maybe it wasn't something embarrassing. Maybe it was something he wasn't supposed to be doing. I'll give you an example. There's been a lot of times even back in the 90s where players, I remember there was a pitcher that got in trouble for playing basketball. He wasn't supposed to be playing basketball. He injured his ankle. And then from now on, all these guys have in their contracts that they're not allowed to be playing basketball. Maybe it was something like that. Diggs was playing a sport that he wasn't supposed to be playing. That's how he got
shadow boxing.
Well, shadow boxing, right? And instead of going on NFI with a non-football injury where you don't get paid, the Cowboys are protecting him a little bit, giving him his paycheck, allowing him to get healthy from the knee so they can maybe get him back by Thanksgiving.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, the guy that I saw come out of the media and said that the Cowboys, are doing his dog wrong. A famous football player that the Cowboys recently had that traded away to a team in Green Bay. It's pretty funny to kind of hear him come out and speak on that when I've literally witnessed that same player punch the Trayvon Diggs in the head several times during a practice just for fun. So, yeah, I mean, there certainly is a chance that this is like something that wasn't supposed to be happening, but isn't like illegal or nefarious, but they're still just trying to protect, Diggs from an embarrassing situation. Who knows at this point?
I mean, with the way that the demand is on, anybody that can cover right now, would it surprise you if the Cowboys look to move him out of here before Tuesday?
I mean, nothing's surprising at this point, right?
Who's going to trade for a corner that they can't play for 3 weeks at least?
I don't know. I don't call the other 31. I mean, I don't know that. I really
don't
know.
I think even in a hypothetical situation, Coach, there's not going to be a lot of people, calling for that.
I think there are one or two teams out there that would consider it, but you're talking about like a 6th, 7th round pick swap with Dallas eating a bunch of money. And at that point, you're just better off holding on to Diggs and hoping that he gets healthy by Turkey Day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a guy that's got, I mean, obviously he doesn't get along with what's going on in the training room. Obviously he's not in link step with how they rehabbed him, what they do from a rehab standpoint, whether it's a personal issue or not, I don't know. But this thing it feels eerily like the Micah deal, where it's just drifting away and it's just drifting farther away. I don't care what you get for him. I don't know. I don't know all that. I don't even like to speak on those kind of things because I don't know. I'm simply saying that it feels like that there's a possibility like that this ship has sailed and it's only a matter of time before whatever they do with it.
I think you're right, but I think the difference is the situation, right? Like the situation where, Diggs is on a deal with his contract that's that he's already been paid. He's not the same caliber of player. I mean, he was never really the same caliber of player that Micah was, right? And now his value is about as low. And I'm not arguing that he won't get back to a good form a year from now or something, but right now where he is, his value is cratered, right? He's injured. He hasn't played well when he was healthy. So I just feel like in a conversation, like when we're talking about, would you trade for this player? And then we talk about the nitty gritty of the details, including contract and like what it takes for a trade and the player's current situation. I think in the nitty gritty of the details, that's the major difference between these two situations where, yeah, there may be that same level of animosity, but the difference is that you're not going to get 2 first-round picks for trading Trayvon Diggs. You're not going to get, almost anything. And what you'll end up doing is probably losing money on the situation. And so for the Cowboys, it's ultimately like, that's probably not worth it for them.
It's just really sad because this is a corner that just turned 27 in September. These should be his prime years, 26, 27, 28. And instead, we've got the last 2 years of 2023 missed a whole year. 2024 missed a lot of time. When he got back, wasn't the same. And then this year, another injury-plagued season. And you can't predict this when you sign a guy to a big contract, right? Like it's just a lot of bad luck. But with these corners, we see this all the time. they're so reliant on speed and quickness. And if you lose just a fraction of your athleticism, it can disappear like that. And it's felt like that for Diggs when we've seen him on the field. And now I wonder if he does need to get surgery on his knee, what is he going to look like in 2026? And is it even worth trying to figure out or, save this situation? I don't know.
I have to say too, just for whatever it's worth, it to me anyway, maybe it's just me, but I find it remarkable that in this day and age with 100 people that cover the team, 200 different Cowboys shows and everything else, that 3 weeks we have not heard one peep about really what's going on other than little comments that Jerry Jones has made.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like I think there's also still the possibility that Trayvon Diggs does not know what happened, right? Like, I think we still have to explore that possibility. I mean, for still what we've heard, Trayvon Diggs just walked into the Star, the next day, and then got evaluated based on his symptoms, not necessarily that he went up to the medical staff and said, "Hey, I got a concussion," or "Hey, this happened." And I think, look, I know that sounds like an outrageous theory, but it also fits all the other weirdness here, right? Like including the kind of conversational stuff from the owners where they're like, we're still trying to figure out what's happening. And Jerry Jones at one point said, sometimes the person that's involved with these situations is not always the best witness to what happened. And to me, if you read the line between the lines there, that's either I think Trayvon Diggs is lying and we want to get somebody else's opinion, or maybe Trayvon doesn't remember what's happening, which honestly is scary. And I hate even mentioning that, but I think it's a real possibility here.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, we'll leave it at that and stay tuned. We'll see what happens with Trayvon Diggs. And as Coach said, we'll see if he's played his final game with the Cowboys. But we know that he will not be there on Monday night, won't be there for a couple more weeks at least. All right, when we come back, let's start to look ahead of the Arizona Cardinals. We've talked a lot about the defense. I want to talk to you guys, get your thoughts on the offense and kind of what happened. I mean, like I said, a lot of blame to go around with what happened on Sunday, but I want to tell you my offensive disappointment and see what you guys think. We'll do that when we come back. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. Cowboys getting ready for the Cardinals here on Locked On. All right, I want to talk to you about Game Time and what they're doing as my computer is frozen. There we go. All right. NFL season is back, and honestly, there is nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a real hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's very frustrating. That's why you need to use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. You pull up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, you get amazing deals talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. So honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful because it's the best way, better than any other way to buy tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. Marcus Mosher, Landon McCool, and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, getting ready for the Cowboys and Cardinals on Monday night. So I made the comment with Coach, again, the defensive issues were clear, and that was, to me, kind of the lower-hanging fruit. But for all the episodes and all the weeks that we've talked about this offense and how special they can be and all the good things, when Sunday was clearly, of all the games, that they really needed the offense to kind of dig a little deeper and help the team out and stay on the field and put some points on the board. And I know it's a tough place to play. I know the Broncos defense is good. They're not a lot of big names, but they play well. But it's disappointed. I was disappointed with that performance on Sunday, and I thought that was a real step back for all of the praise that we had been talking about leading up to that game. What did you guys think?
Yeah, it was a real bummer considering that Patrick Surtain went out, I think was the first drive of the game, and then he got banged up a little bit later and didn't play at all in the second half. Arguably their best linebacker, Dre Greenlaw, he was suspended for this game because of an incident the previous week. So they're without 2 of their top 4 or 5 players, and they still overwhelmed you. Now, I think we shouldn't base anything off of 1 game sample size, right? Because I think if you play that game 10 times, the offense looks better 9 out of the 10 times, right? But I think it did show you, like, hey, the way to stop the Cowboys is if you can get that pressure with your front 4, which Denver clearly did, man, that you can do a lot to help slow down these receivers. And I think really taking away Jake Ferguson, we don't talk about Jake Ferguson enough as a big part of the passing game, but taking away all of the middle of the field action made it really hard for Dallas to throw the football in this game. So I thought Denver had a really good game plan. The Cowboys offense had a bad day, and it happens.
Yeah, I think the run game issues obviously reared their ugly head as well. It did not help that they were not able to have an efficient run game for most of the game. And again, like, I think Denver is more than just a good defense. I mean, they're on pace to potentially break the single season record for sacks. I mean, they're pressuring the quarterback at a historic rate. Playing in Denver is, known to be very difficult. So let's not underrate those aspects of that as well. Yeah. And then on top of that, I mean, look, you didn't get BB back the way you thought you were going to get him back this week. So you had another week with Hoffman, who I think did fine. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, there's a reason that you want that interior trio back so that you can kind of help get a more efficient running game and then protect the front of that pocket a little bit better. And then again, like, it's incredibly difficult for this offense to serve 2 masters, right? And that's ultimately what you're asking this offense to do almost every single week. Right? You're asking them to score points while also protecting the defense and possessing the ball. And if you can't run the football and you can't throw the football over the middle of the field, it's a pretty difficult thing to do, right? And they're asking Dak to make high leverage throws to the outside in order to kind of consistently move the ball and keep the chains moving. So I think what was being asked of this offense was incredibly ridiculously difficult. They certainly didn't live up to what we were expecting, but I also think that, they're allowed to have a bad week, for God's sakes. And I can't be shocked that it was against, a really good defense that was able to put them into scenarios that really was to their disadvantage.
I mean, this is an odd front team. Here's your 34 look. They're 5 down, and we saw what they did to give Dallas tackles some problems. Here's kind of how I saw the game in a nutshell. Denver gets the ball. They run RP. They run lead for 7. They run an option to Ingram for 7. First down. For whatever reason, they call RPO and it gets picked. Okay, Dallas gets a pick. It's a poor throw. Dallas takes the ball. They run flat to span forward for 9. Williams picks up 2 on a draw. They run a zone to Williams for 9. They throw a deep shot incomplete. They run a zone to Williams on first, and I think it was a PI. They run a zone then to Williams on 1st and goal to get 1. They run a drag to Pickens. It's incomplete. They false start. Then he tries to throw the slant to the trip side. It's incomplete. I think he read the defense wrong. I think he could have gone backside to Pickens. Anyway, they have to kick a field goal. Denver gets the football back, and on the 3rd play, where they have a chance to go 3 and out, Houston lines up off sides. Jeff Diggs, did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
He lined up off sides.
That was a game changer.
He lined up off sides.
Yeah.
8 games into the season,
Can you say that again? I didn't quite hear it.
Lines his ass up off sides.
Yep.
It's inexcusable.
Killer.
Now they go score. You get the football back. Guyton gets whipped inside on third down. You go 3 and out. They go score. It's a 14-3 football game. The game is over. It's over. They can say what they want. I didn't like the halftime press in the middle of the field where he threw the football, but the football game was over then. The thing that pisses me off about this is you have a guy that can't even line his ass up on sides. And you can look at the official. Look at the official and say, hey, my offsides, my offsides. It's not hard to do. And when you have zero margin for error as a defense and you don't have much margin for error as an offense and you go play a good team, you're going to get just what you got up there at Mile High.
Yeah, it's
an ass whipping. An ass
even
whipping.
more.
That's what you got.
It's even more frustrating because Houston's one of these guys that, before the game you would have pointed to like, hey, he's one of the guys we need to get more snaps for. So it's just like it feels like the guys that you have out there are screwing up. You replace them with other guys to see they're screwing up. I listen. I was the one who came in here up front and said, hey, it feels like it's 3 or 4 guys that are consistently causing problems, and I do still feel that way. But I also recognize that it's hard to fix a problem when the people that you're replacing those 3 or 4 guys are also playing terribly, right? Or also not playing well. And again, not even just like, oh, your guy beat my guy, right? Like lining up on sides, like Coach is saying, like putting your head on the right side of the body when you're trying to create leverage in run defense. It's, understanding which gap you have responsibility for. It's not being walked back by a tight end 6 yards off the line of scrimmage when you're one-on-one blocking him and you're a defensive end. Like it's somewhat effort, obviously, but it's also just the effort of knowing what to do, right? The effort of caring enough to get your responsibility correct.
Again, no, just dial in with me here. They know they're an average football team on defense.
Yeah,
they know that. They're watching the film. They know they're a good team on offense. They knew exactly what they had to do in order to beat a really good Denver team. If they didn't, then shame on them. They knew exactly what they had to do. And so to get so early in a football game and to make those kind of mistakes, there is no room for error if you're going to win. And so the frustrating thing is you knew what you were, and you went in there and you just, for lack of a better term, you just weren't ready. We're not ready to play. And that's what's frustrating.
The chat likes an angry coach right now. They're loving you right now, Stretch. This is great.
Yes. Lou says, give him hell, coach.
Listen, you guys get the nice, clean version of Stretch here on Locked On Cowboys. You're very.
You should hear our phone calls, guys.
I get Stretch yelling at me like I'm the one that's not lined up right, or I'm the one that jumped offside. So
I only know one way to do this. I really do. I mean, football is it's a passionate game for passionate people, and I only know one way to do it. And if you don't do it that way, then the lay off for 2 weeks and quit. I mean, because it's the wrong game for you. But it is. It's hard to watch. It's frustrating to watch. And then, I feel Michael Irvin's. I feel his frustration when he gets on Twitter and starts just going crazy. I mean, I feel what Mike does. I mean, and he's brutally honest. I'm telling you. Mike Irvin's one of the most brutally honest people I know, and he's going to tell you just the way it is. And sometimes it ain't very good. And I'm that way. I mean, I'm going to say it, and sometimes people are going to get offended. And you know what? I'm sorry if I offend you, but I only know one way to do it, fellas.
No, you don't offend me. I like it. I like when
I don't give a damn about you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I give about
my goodness.
People watching.
He cares about the fans. He doesn't care about us. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take our final timeout, and when we come back, we will we'll get you ready for Monday night. We got to look at that game. I'm trying to be optimistic as I usually am, but got to say, I confess, I'm a little concerned. I think we know about Kyler Murray, and he's going to come to ball out in that game on Monday night. So we'll get into that when we come back. Final segment coming up. More comments from you. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right. Well, I'm trying to scroll down here, and that did not work, Marcus. I'm trying to do the this thing won't move down. So, all right. Well, let me read this really quick on the fly, and let me see if I can play it from here. See if that works. Nope, that did not.
We're back. Looks like Jeff's microphone's not working, so we'll go ahead and start the show as Jeff has some technical difficulties. Landon, let's talk about this Week 9 matchup.
Y'all want me to do that commercial, Rougier? If you can't get the performance done, get the Rougier. I got it. I don't need the damn read. Rougier. Let's go.
Landon, Cardinals coming to town on Monday Night Football. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to feel. I mean, honestly, like part of it is because the Cowboys, right? But also this Cardinals team is kind of difficult to get a read on. I think part of it is that we haven't seen Kyler Murray for, what is it, 3 weeks, 2 weeks now that he hasn't been out. So we've been watching Jacoby Brissett go out there and frankly have a lot of success and do okay, certainly compared to what you normally get out of a backup quarterback. But you know, what does that mean for Kyler when he comes back? We'll see. I mean, Kyler is obviously a guy that has never lost at AT&T Stadium. As a local kid, as a lot of y'all know, went to Allen High School, won a state title there. One of the best high school football teams you'll probably ever see. And I think, you know, he comes back and he enjoys playing here, but he's also can be a very volatile player for a guy that is, you know, a unquestioned starter on his team, right? You look at the guys around the league that are, you know, the written in pen quarterback ones in their team, and Kyler Murray has got to be one of the highest variants one of them, right? He's just some games you get the number one overall pick, the Heisman Trophy winner, and some games you get the guy that was a little bit concerned about what the new Call of Duty game was going to look like as soon as it dropped that day. So
right.
I think, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what we get from Kyler Murray coming off of an injury in his first week back.
I mean, I'm a big Kyler fan. I've always liked watching him play. You know, he's got a really unique style because he's short. He's 5'10", 1 right stretch. Maybe. So I wonder though if the Cowboys defense, because they have so many issues like pre-snap and smart quarterbacks can kind of carve them up. I wonder if they'll actually fare better against a quarterback that tends to make everything a little bit more backyard football. Maybe that's the type of style that's actually going to play well to them. So this Cardinals offense has looked very clunky with Kyler Murray this year. But so did Denver's before they played Dallas last week, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to figure out a way to, you know, not let him keep plays alive because we know what the secondary's like, and that's his, quite frankly, that's his specialty. I mean, is to run around and, like I said, play a little backyard football and and keep it alive. I mean, he's a dangerous guy. He can do a lot of things with the football, and on top of that, he's not afraid to take off with it. And so I think this will be a tough matchup for the Cowboys, but it's going to be this way. Guys, I mean, I keep saying this. It's a pinball machine mentality. We said 30, and then we said 35, and now with the secondary down, go score 40, and you don't have to worry about it.
And this is a good defensive coordinator, and Jonathan Gannon. I know he's their head coach, but he's really good at designing game plans. If you remember back to the 2023 season, that Cardinals defense had a bunch of injuries, and they held that Cowboys offense in check that had a lot of weapons. So don't expect just because this Cardinals team is 2 and whatever, 3 and whatever, that they're going to walk in here and score 35 points without doing it in their sleep. This Cardinals defense can be a problem.
They were playing pretty well. They got off to a decent start, talking about the Cardinals, and then they blew that game at home against the Titans. And it was just that was like one of the worst losses of the season for anybody, losing at home the way that they did to them. And then Murray got banged up and he's been out, but now they're coming out of their bye. And like I said, all of a sudden, he's going to be healthy, rested, and this is kind of their bounce back game. So I think, obviously a great start for the Cowboys, both offensively and defensively, is going to be huge. If they can get out to a quick lead and kind of get the Cardinals back on their heels early and make them play from behind, I think they'll be fine. But if they mess around and let them hang around, they've got nothing. Cardinals are going to be playing with house money.
Yeah, it's the NFL. You're playing another NFL team this week. Like you can't mess around here. You definitely have to take care of business. But I do think that this is not a team that matches up, is a poor matchup for the Cowboys necessarily. I think that this is probably a run of the mill matchup for most. I don't look at this group and think, man, that aspect is something that the Cowboys are going to have to really take care of more than they normally would, outside of maybe like Trey McBride. But I don't know that the Cowboys have struggled against tight ends, more than they've struggled against every other position. So, with the Dallas Cowboys defense, it's like a reverse pick your poison. It's like, it's like pick our poison, right? Yeah. It'll be quite interesting to see how they press that issue.
Landon, let me ask you this. If the Cowboys come out of this game with a win and they're 4-4-1 going into the bye, how would you feel? And then the opposite of that, if they lose this game and they're 3-5-1 with the NFL trade deadline the next day, at that point, are you just selling anybody that you can?
I don't think it matters. Honestly, to me personally, I think where you are right now, whether if you want me to start believing again in the Cowboys for the 2025 season, they need to win this game. And then they need to win probably another 2 games before I feel like, they're in it, even on a making the playoff spaces, right?
So that would be beating the Cardinals to get to 4-4-1, beating the Raiders the following week at 5-4-1. And I think the next game is Philadelphia at home. If you win those 3 and you're 6-4-1 going into Thanksgiving, at least you feel like you're in the hunt going into the last month and a half of the year.
But only sort of. Honestly, I would need to win those next 3 games and then also have made a trade to make me feel even slightly better about where this defense is. But to be honest, I just have a hard time getting from here to there. Right? I have a hard time believing that I'm going to get from where we are right now with this defense to believing that this defense is going to be able to do anything in the playoffs at any point this season. To me, I hate to be defeatist, and I know that I'm usually the optimist guy, but to me, I need this defense to prove it to me on multiple weeks that they're capable of playing at a level that's going to make this even worth it.
Having said all that, you did tie the Packers at home when you were without several key players, including CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker, right? And if you beat the Eagles at home, like we suggested, maybe that does change the angles a little bit, because the Eagles and Packers are 2 of the best 3 teams in the NFC. If you win that game, maybe you can talk yourself into, hey, we can just sneak into the playoffs. We know that we can play with anybody. we also know that we can lose to anybody, but we can play with teams if Dak is going to play at an unreal level.
If the defense beats them, if the defense plays well and does something to actually stop the Eagles offense, then maybe we can talk about it. But to me, like if we go into the Eagles game and they just play a bunch of shotgun and refuse to throw the ball to Brown and just shoot themselves in the foot like they tend to do at certain times because of their play caller, then I'm not going to feel super impressed that the Cowboys took advantage of a team that, intentionally decided to play left-handed for some reason.
How many they scored to tie Green Bay?
40.
Go score 40.
Go do it.
That's what we're talking about. Go score 40, and you'll have a chance to beat the Cardinals. You should beat the Raiders with 40, and you score 40. You can certainly beat the Eagles. I mean, you could sell me that, but it isn't going to happen on the other side of the ball, guys. I mean, I'm just telling you, it ain't happening over there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like there's not a level that this offense can reach. To be honest, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine a level that this offense reaches where it's good enough to carry this defense through the playoffs into the Super Bowl and make it worth our while. Absolutely, just I can't imagine it. Like they could be the greatest show on turf 2.0, and I just don't think it's good enough to reach the kind of goals that we actually want this team to hit. So,
but regardless of win or lose Monday night, I still think this team has got to start thinking about how to rebuild. And if you can get the right guy at the trade deadline, I don't care if you're 4-4-1, 3-5-1. You gotta start the process. I was, and I guess I've changed my role of thinking because for a while I was like, just hang on to everything, and now to see how bad it is, and you gotta start the process here. We've got to kickstart this thing.
All right. Well, when we are all together next, it's going to be after Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. I know we've talked about it. There's rumors every day. One today was that both the Cowboys and the 49ers asked about Trey Hendrickson, and at least for now, the Bengals said no. Jermaine Johnson of the Jets has come up as a name. We talked about some others last week. Minkah Fitzpatrick, you brought up, Marcus. I think it was you that brought it up. So I guess we'll see, right? What you guys, anybody else you guys have in mind or that you would like to see?
Yes,
Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart
But I think
organization.
this, while you're
I'll
on
sit
the
through once.
phone asking about Myles Garrett, ask about the safety.
There you go. Smart organizations don't trade away all pro pass rushers in their prime stretch.
You're going to call Cleveland a smart organization.
No, I'm not.
That's a fair. Hey, he's got you there, Marcus.
Yeah,
Like,
I resigned from this. I'm not even listening to that crap anymore.
Fair point. But even the
Kidding me?
Hold on, Stretch. Even the Browns know that you don't trade away all pro
Smart
defensive ends.
organizations.
I'm just saying you don't trade away Myles Garrett. To answer your question, Jeff, yes, we have several players that we think could be available and fit the Cowboys, especially on defense. But we're going to make you wait till Friday on Locked On Cowboys to check that out. We got a whole show breaking down trade deadline stuff, so be on the lookout.
Beautiful. I love it. Great plug. And see, I was going to ask you what's coming up. Now we know.
now you know.
We also have a crossover show with Locked On Cardinals that'll be airing on Thursday with Alex Clancy. Some really good stuff in there as well, so make sure you guys check that out.
All right. Beautiful. And Landon, last time you said 90% chance that they'll make a trade. You still feeling that way?
I still feel like they probably will make some sort of trade. And honestly, it could be just sort of a Jerry special so he can talk about it trade. I don't know. But yeah, I still think that it makes sense for them to make a trade. I just think that the shape of what type of trade that they would make has changed because of the way that the record has gone.
Now, you're talking about making a trade. Is that out of the building or into the building?
In.
Either, honestly. I mean, but I would imagine in. Yeah.
Nicely done.
Listen, I'm not going to be shocked if they trade Trayvon Diggs. I'm just not. Like, I mean, I'm just not going to be surprised.
Maybe they could trade Joe Milton. Did you see that throw he made last week, Coach? I know you're a big fan of Joe Milton.
It cost $60 million less.
I know it's true.
Before we get off, can you hit the trifecta with one more of those?
Sure. Let me think of one.
Cleveland's a sharp organization.
Maybe Jane Blue needs more touches.
Come on, hit the trifecta.
Jane Blue needs more touches. There we go, guys. We got it. He hit the trifecta of trying to draw you offside.
Well, how about real quick? How about Schottenheimer saying today at practice that when asked about what position battles we might see, he went to the Javonte Williams, Malik Davis card. Where did that come from?
Jane Blue.
Yeah. All right, we'll save that for next week. All right, guys. Marcus Mosher, Landon McCool, the Daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. They will get you ready for Monday night. Coach and I and Aisha will be back with you after the game Monday night, and Marcus and Landon will have their show, and then we'll be back together again a week from tonight talking about the Cowboys and the Cardinals and the NFL trade deadline. For Marcus, Landon, and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, thank you for watching the Cowboys Squad.